Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're diving into something that's truly life-changing. 10 Stoic principles that will help you become unshakable, no matter what life throws at you. Whether you're dealing with stress, difficult people, unexpected setbacks, or just trying to stay grounded in a chaotic world, Stoicism has the tools to guide you through it all. In this episode, we'll explore the teachings of Epictetus and how you can apply these powerful principles to your everyday life. From mastering your emotions, building inner strength, to learning how to focus only on what's within your control, these lessons are all about living with more resilience, clarity, and peace. So if you're ready to take control of your mindset and live with more intention, let's get started. And remember, if you find this episode helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends and family. Let's dive into Stoicism. 1. Firm purpose. Establish a clear sense of purpose in life. Imagine trying to navigate a ship without a destination. You'd be tossed by the waves, drift off course, and probably end up feeling lost and frustrated. That's exactly what life feels like without a clear sense of purpose. It's easy to get caught up in distractions, setbacks, and external pressures when you don't know where you're headed. That's why the Stoics, especially Epictetus, taught the importance of establishing a firm purpose in life, a compass that guides you through the chaos. A firm purpose is more than just having career goals or personal ambitions. It's about defining what truly matters to you at your core, your values, principles, and long-term vision of who you want to become. When you're clear on your purpose, it becomes much easier to stay resilient in the face of challenges, because you know why you're doing what you're doing. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every distraction becomes noise you can tune out. Finding your purpose. The Stoics would encourage you to ask yourself some deep questions to discover your purpose. What are the core values that I live by? What gives my life meaning and direction? What kind of person do I want to be remembered as? Your purpose isn't about societal expectations. It's not about what your family or peers expect from you. It's about what makes you feel aligned with your authentic self. For example, your purpose could be to make a positive impact on your community, to achieve personal excellence in a skill or craft, or to nurture and grow meaningful relationships. Purpose as your anchor in hard times. When you establish a strong purpose, it becomes your anchor during tough times. Challenges, no matter how daunting, become easier to navigate when you know they're part of your journey. Instead of feeling lost, you remind yourself of the bigger picture. Even if things aren't going your way right now, your purpose gives you the long-term vision you need to keep pushing forward. Think about the last time you felt completely overwhelmed or stressed. Maybe it was because you didn't see the point in what you were doing. When we lose sight of our purpose, life's challenges can feel crushing. But when your purpose is crystal clear, those challenges transform into opportunities to test your resolve and grow. Living every day with purpose. One of the most powerful aspects of having a firm purpose is that it impacts your everyday decisions. When you have a purpose, it's not just something you think about occasionally, it's something you live by daily. You make decisions that align with your purpose, from the way you spend your time to the goals you set for yourself. For example, let's say your purpose is to lead a healthy, balanced life. Every decision you make, whether it's what to eat, whether to exercise, or how to manage your stress, aligns with that purpose. And when obstacles arise, like a stressful week at work, that makes it hard to stay on track. Your purpose becomes the reason you push through. You don't let the setbacks knock you off course because you're anchored in something deeper. Why purpose leads to resilience. Epictetus and other Stoic thinkers knew that when life's challenges come your way, it's easy to feel overwhelmed if you don't have a strong foundation. But with a firm purpose, you're less likely to be shaken by life's difficulties. You become more resilient because you see obstacles not as random events, but as part of your journey. For instance, if your purpose is to help others through your work, then a difficult project or a tough client isn't something that derails you. Instead, you see it as an opportunity to improve, to build patience, and to grow in your ability to serve others. Your purpose gives you the perspective to stay grounded, no matter what comes your way. Real life. Example: purpose in action. Let's consider someone like Nelson Mandela. Mandela faced years of imprisonment, immense personal sacrifice, and extreme adversity. But what kept him going was his firm purpose, the belief in justice, equality, and freedom for his people. Even when the situation seemed hopeless, Mandela stayed focused on his purpose, which gave him the strength to persevere. You don't need to be a global leader to apply this principle in your own life. Even in small, everyday moments, your purpose can give you the courage to push through when things are tough. Maybe you're a parent who wants to give your children the best possible life, or maybe you're working to build a business that will make a difference in your community. Whatever it is, when your purpose is clear, you can handle the hard times with more grace and determination. How to keep your purpose in focus. One way to stay connected to your purpose is to remind yourself of it regularly. Write it down, keep it somewhere visible, or even create a daily ritual where you reflect on your purpose and how your actions align with it. This practice helps you stay grounded and focused, especially during moments of doubt or distraction. Another powerful Stoic practice is visualization. Spend time each day visualizing what your life looks like when you're living in alignment with your purpose. How do you feel? How do you interact with others? How do you handle challenges? By visualizing the outcome, you reinforce your commitment to your purpose. Conclusion: purpose as your North Star. Having a firm purpose in life is like having a North Star. It guides you through the darkest times, helps you make decisions that align with your values, and keeps you grounded when life feels overwhelming. Epictetus and the Stoics understood that without a clear sense of purpose, we're vulnerable to life's unpredictable nature. But when you know what you stand for, what you're striving toward, and why it matters, nothing can shake you. Your purpose becomes your foundation, your anchor, and your compass in a world full of distractions and challenges. 2. Emotional control. Learn to control emotional responses. Let's be real. Emotions can be powerful. We've all had moments where our emotions completely took over, whether it's anger, frustration, anxiety, or sadness. But the truth is, when we let our emotions dictate our actions, we often end up in situations we regret. That's why one of the core teachings of Epictetus is the importance of emotional control. Emotions, in and of themselves, aren't bad. They're part of what makes us human. The problem arises when we let those emotions spiral out of control, affecting our decisions and how we treat others. Stoicism teaches us to focus on how we interpret and respond to events, rather than letting emotions take the wheel. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you choose to react. Why emotional control is a game changer. Imagine this. You're having a stressful day at work. Deadlines are looming, your inbox is flooded, and a coworker says something that rubs you the wrong way. Your immediate emotional reaction might be to snap back, lash out, or withdraw in frustration. But here's where Stoic wisdom comes in. The Stoics believed that in moments like these, your real power lies not in the event itself, but in how you react to it. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple idea is a complete game changer. It shifts your perspective from being a victim of your emotions to being in control of them. The moment you pause and choose how to respond, you take back control of the situation. Understanding emotional triggers. Before we dive into controlling emotions, it's important to understand where they come from. Emotions often arise from how we perceive situations. For example, let's say you feel offended because someone made a critical comment. The emotion of offense comes not from the comment itself, but from how you interpret it. You may see it as an attack on your character, but someone else might brush it off as just an opinion. This means that if you change how you interpret the situation, you can change your emotional reaction. The Stoics were big on this idea. They believed that by training our minds to reinterpret events, we could avoid unnecessary emotional turmoil. Instead of seeing every challenge as a personal affront, we can learn to view things more objectively. Practical tips for controlling emotions. So how do you actually control your emotions in the heat of the moment? It's not easy, but with practice, it becomes second nature. Here are some Stoic strategies you can use. 1. Pause before reacting. One of the simplest but most effective techniques is to take a moment to pause. Before you say or do anything, give yourself a few seconds to breathe. This small gap gives you the space to think, reflect, and decide how you want to respond rather than letting your emotions take over. 2. Reframe the situation. Another powerful Stoic tool is reframing. Instead of seeing a situation in a negative light, try to shift your perspective. For example, if someone criticizes you, instead of getting defensive, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? By viewing it as feedback rather than an attack, you change how you feel about it. 3. Focus on what's in your control. If something outside your control triggers a strong emotional reaction, remind yourself of the Stoic principle that you can't control external events, only your response to them. By focusing on what you can control, your attitude and actions, you take back your emotional power. 4. Practice mindfulness. Being aware of your emotions as they arise is key. Mindfulness helps you notice when you're starting to feel overwhelmed or triggered, and it gives you the chance to step back before the emotion escalates. This awareness is crucial for controlling emotional responses. Real-life example: managing anger in difficult situations. Let's look at an example. Say you've been working on a project for weeks and your boss gives you harsh feedback that feels unfair. Naturally, anger starts to build up. You might want to defend yourself or express your frustration. But before reacting, what if you took a Stoic approach? You could pause, take a few deep breaths, and remind yourself that while you can't control your boss's words, you can control your reaction. Instead of snapping back, you might ask clarifying questions or take the feedback as an opportunity for growth. By controlling your emotional response, you avoid unnecessary conflict and maintain your professional composure. In another example, think about road rage. It's so easy to get worked up when someone cuts you off in traffic, but in the grand scheme of things, does that other driver's action really affect your life? Is it worth letting your emotions run wild and ruin your mood? The Stoics would tell you to let it go because it's not within your control. What is in your control is how you choose to feel about it. The long-term benefits of emotional control. When you learn to control your emotional responses, the benefits extend beyond just avoiding drama or conflict. You'll notice significant improvements in different areas of your life. 1. Better decision-making. Emotions can cloud your judgment, leading you to make rash or impulsive decisions. When you pause and control your emotional responses, you make decisions from a place of clarity and reason. 2. Improved relationships. Emotional control is crucial for maintaining healthy relationships. When you don't react emotionally to every little thing, you're better able to communicate, resolve conflicts, and build trust with others. 3. Increased resilience. Emotional control strengthens your ability to handle life's challenges. Instead of being tossed around by every setback or disappointment, you stay grounded and focused on what matters. 4. Inner peace. Perhaps the most valuable benefit is the sense of peace you gain. When you no longer let external events dictate your emotions, you create a sense of calm within yourself. You're not as easily disturbed by life's ups and downs because you've learned to master your own mind. Handling strong emotions, anger, fear, and anxiety. There are certain emotions that tend to be stronger and harder to control, like anger, fear, or anxiety. The Stoics didn't believe in repressing these emotions, but they did believe in managing them. One of the key lessons Epictetus teaches is that these emotions don't have to control us. Take fear, for example. Fear often arises from the unknown or from anticipating future problems. But the Stoics would encourage you to confront that fear head-on. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Often, when you rationally analyze the situation, the fear starts to lose its power over you. With anxiety, it's similar. Anxiety often stems from worrying about things that are out of our control. By focusing on what's within your power, your thoughts, actions, and reactions, you can begin to release some of that anxiety and find peace in the present moment. Conclusion. Emotions are powerful, but you're more powerful. Emotions are part of what makes us human, but they don't have to control us. The Stoics knew that real strength comes from mastering your emotions, not letting them run wild. By practicing emotional control, you gain the power to respond thoughtfully, act in line with your values, and maintain your inner calm, no matter what's happening around you. Next time you feel an emotion rising, whether it's anger, frustration, or anxiety, pause and remind yourself, I can't control what's happening, but I can control how I respond. This is where true emotional strength lies, and it's something you can practice and get better at every day. 3. Mind control. Practice daily mental discipline. When we talk about mind control, we're not referring to some sci-fi movie where people manipulate others with their thoughts. Instead, in the Stoic sense, mind control is all about gaining control over your own thoughts, emotions, and reactions through daily mental discipline. Your mind is like a muscle. It gets stronger the more you train it. The Stoics understood that mental discipline is key to living a life where external events no longer dictate your happiness or peace of mind. Epictetus once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." That means if you let your mind wander, fixating on things you can't change or stressing over what other people think, you lose your inner strength. But with daily mental discipline, you can train your mind to stay focused, calm, and centered, no matter what life throws at you. Why mind control is essential. We live in a world filled with distractions, social media, news, constant notifications, and endless to-do lists. Our attention is constantly being pulled in 1,000 different directions, and if we're not careful, we end up feeling scattered, anxious, and overwhelmed. This is why mental discipline is so crucial. Without control over your mind, you become reactive. Every little inconvenience, every negative comment, and every piece of bad news throws you off balance. But when you practice mind control, you learn to focus on what matters, block out the noise, and approach life's challenges with clarity and composure. Mind control is about mastering the most powerful tool you have, your own thoughts. When you learn to guide your thinking, you're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You decide how to react, how to interpret events, and where to place your energy. Daily practices for mental discipline. Like any skill, mastering your mind requires consistent practice. Here are some Stoic-inspired daily exercises you can use to strengthen your mental discipline. 1. Start with mindfulness. Begin your day with mindfulness or meditation. Spend just 10 to 15 minutes focusing on your breath, clearing your mind of distractions and grounding yourself in the present moment. This simple practice helps you center your thoughts before the day's chaos begins. It trains your mind to stay present, which is the first step toward mental discipline. 2. Journaling for clarity. The Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius, often wrote in journals as a way to reflect on their thoughts and emotions. Try keeping a journal where you reflect on the events of the day, your thoughts, and how you responded to challenges. Ask yourself, what went well? What didn't? How could I have reacted differently? This practice helps you gain insight into your thinking patterns and gives you a chance to course correct where needed. 3. Mental reframing. Throughout the day, when you face challenges, practice reframing your thoughts. Instead of seeing a setback as a disaster, view it as an opportunity for growth. For example, if you face criticism at work, instead of thinking, "This is unfair," try reframing it as, "This is a chance to improve." By consciously changing how you interpret events, you train your mind to focus on the positive and the possible lessons in each situation. 4. Limit distractions. In today's world, our attention is constantly under attack. To practice mental discipline, be intentional about minimizing distractions. Set boundaries with your phone. Limit your time on social media or turn off notifications when you need to focus. Create specific times in your day for focused work and train your mind to stay on task without giving in to every little distraction. The power of focus. Focus is a huge part of mind control. The Stoics believed that to live a virtuous life, you need to be focused on what matters most: your character, your actions, and the things within your control. But it's hard to focus if your mind is constantly wandering or getting sucked into distractions. Think of your mind like a flashlight. If you shine it in all directions at once, you get a weak, scattered light. But if you focus that light on a single point, it becomes incredibly powerful. The same goes for your mental energy. When you focus it on one thing at a time, whether it's your work, a conversation, or a personal goal, you become far more effective and resilient. The Stoics practiced single tasking long before it became a modern productivity buzzword. They believed that true wisdom comes from directing your mind toward what's most important and blocking out distractions. Whether you're spending time with family, working on a project, or reflecting on your day, be fully present in that moment. That's how you train your mind to stay sharp and disciplined. Why mental discipline builds resilience. Life is unpredictable, and we're all going to face setbacks and challenges. The difference between being overwhelmed by those challenges and overcoming them lies in your mindset. Mental discipline builds resilience because it teaches you to control your thoughts and not let external events control you. For example, if you lose your job, your initial thoughts might be filled with panic, frustration, or anxiety. But if you've trained your mind through Stoic practices, you can quickly shift gears. Instead of spiraling into negative thinking, you can focus on what's within your control, updating your resume, applying for new positions, or building new skills. You reframe the situation as a new opportunity rather than a catastrophe. Another example is dealing with stress in personal relationships. When emotions run high, it's easy to react impulsively, saying or doing things you later regret. But with mental discipline, you create space between the event and your reaction. You pause, think through the situation rationally, and respond in a way that aligns with your values, rather than reacting out of anger or frustration. Real-life example: mental discipline in action. Let's look at a well-known example: Navy SEALs. Undergo some of the most intense mental and physical training in the world. What sets them apart isn't just physical strength, but the incredible mental discipline they develop. They're trained to stay calm under extreme pressure, to focus on the mission even when their bodies are exhausted, and to remain mentally sharp no matter what's happening around them. This level of mental control allows them to face situations that would overwhelm most people. Their success on the battlefield isn't just about skill, it's about mental toughness, the ability to focus on what matters most, and the discipline to stay composed under stress. You don't have to be a Navy SEAL to practice this kind of mental discipline. In your own life, whether it's handling a stressful day at work, managing your emotions in a difficult conversation, or staying focused on a long-term goal, the more you practice controlling your mind, the stronger and more resilient you become. Overcoming mental drift. One of the biggest obstacles to mind control is mental drift. That feeling of your thoughts wandering aimlessly, jumping from one thing to the next without direction. This happens to all of us, especially in today's fast-paced world. But the Stoics teach us to notice when our minds start to drift and bring our attention back to the present. One simple technique to combat mental drift is to use reminders throughout your day. Set small triggers to bring your focus back, whether it's a sticky note on your desk, a timer on your phone, or just a mental check-in every hour. Ask yourself, am I focused right now? Are my thoughts aligned with my purpose? These small reminders help train your mind to stay on track. Conclusion: master your mind, master your life. The Stoics understood that mastering your mind is the key to mastering your life. When you control your thoughts, you control your actions, and ultimately, your destiny. Through daily mental discipline, you build the strength to stay focused, handle challenges with grace, and remain centered in a world full of distractions. Remember, mind control doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice. But the more you commit to training your mind, the more resilient, focused, and unstoppable you become. So, as you go through your day, ask yourself, am I in control of my thoughts, or are my thoughts controlling me? With this awareness, you can start building the mental discipline that will lead to a life of clarity, peace, and purpose. Handling criticism. Develop the ability to handle criticism with grace. Let's face it, no one enjoys being criticized. Whether it's feedback from a boss, comments from a family member, or even a random remark from a stranger, criticism can sting. But here's the truth. Criticism is inevitable. No matter who you are or what you do, there will always be people who have something to say about your choices, your work, or your life. The key is learning how to handle it with grace and resilience, rather than letting it affect your self-worth or knock you off course. Epictetus had a great perspective on this. If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, "He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned only these." In other words, don't take criticism personally. It's a reflection of the other person's perception, not a statement about your worth. By developing the ability to handle criticism with grace, you can turn it into a tool for growth instead of letting it drag you down. Why criticism stings so much. Criticism hits us hard because it feels like a direct attack on our ego. We all want to be liked, respected, and seen as competent. So when someone criticizes us, it can feel like they're questioning our value. But here's the thing. Criticism is often more about the person giving it than about you. People's criticisms come from their own perspectives, biases, and expectations. That's why learning how to handle it with a Stoic mindset can make all the difference. The Stoics believed that the opinions of others are outside of our control. What's in our control is how we respond. You can't control whether someone criticizes you, but you can control whether you let it ruin your day or whether you use it as fuel for improvement. The Stoic approach to criticism. When you hear criticism, your first instinct might be to defend yourself, make excuses, or even get angry. But the Stoic approach is to take a step back, remain calm, and ask yourself two important questions. 1. Is the criticism valid? 2. What can I learn from it? If the criticism is valid, great. You've just been given an opportunity to grow. It might not feel good, but valid criticism is one of the best ways to improve yourself. If someone points out an area where you can do better, thank them, internally or externally, for helping you see that blind spot. If the criticism isn't valid, if it's based on misunderstanding or coming from a negative or unhelpful place, then you can let it go. Epictetus would remind us that what others think of us is beyond our control. It doesn't define who we are. You don't need to internalize criticism that doesn't help you grow. Turning criticism into a tool for growth. One of the most powerful ways to handle criticism is to see it as a tool for growth. Instead of getting defensive or feeling hurt, use criticism to improve. If someone gives you constructive feedback at work, for example, try to see it as a roadmap for how you can get better. Ask yourself, what can I take from this that will help me in the future? Even if the delivery of the criticism wasn't ideal, there's often something valuable you can extract from it. Here's a Stoic practice you can use the next time you receive criticism. Instead of reacting immediately, pause. Take a few moments to breathe and reflect before responding. This pause allows you to regain control of your emotions and think more clearly about the situation. Ask yourself, is there truth in this criticism? Can I use it to grow? If the answer is yes, then focus on how you can apply the feedback. If not, let it go without letting it affect your inner peace. Criticism versus judgment. It's also important to distinguish between criticism and judgment. Constructive criticism is meant to help you grow. It points out areas where you can improve and often comes with helpful suggestions. Judgment, on the other hand, is more about tearing you down or making you feel small. The Stoics teach us to listen to criticism and ignore judgment. For example, if a mentor tells you, "You need to work on your communication skills to become a better leader," that's constructive criticism. It's useful, and you can apply it to improve. But if someone says, "You're a terrible communicator, and you'll never be a good leader," that's judgment. It's not helpful or constructive. It's just someone else's opinion, and it doesn't define you. Real-life example: handling criticism in the workplace. Imagine you've worked really hard on a project at work, and you're proud of what you've accomplished. But when you present it to your boss, they point out several areas that need improvement. Maybe they say it wasn't as polished as they expected, or that it didn't meet certain criteria. Naturally, you might feel disappointed or even defensive. But here's where the Stoic approach comes in. Instead of letting that criticism crush your confidence, you can choose to see it as an opportunity. Take a deep breath, listen carefully, and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Maybe the feedback will help you improve your future projects. Maybe it will push you to raise your own standards. By handling the criticism calmly and using it for growth, you stay in control of the situation. Now, let's look at another scenario. Say someone in your personal life criticizes your decisions or lifestyle. Maybe they think you're not living up to their expectations, or they don't agree with the choices you've made. In this case, the criticism might feel more personal, but again, you have the power to choose how you react. Ask yourself, is this valid feedback that I can use to improve? If not, let it go. Other people's opinions don't define your worth. Building resilience to criticism. The more you practice handling criticism, the more resilient you become. Over time, you'll notice that criticism doesn't sting as much. It becomes easier to separate your self-worth from other people's opinions, and you start to view feedback as a tool for growth rather than an attack. Here's the truth. Criticism is inevitable, but suffering because of it is optional. When you build resilience to criticism, you gain a kind of mental freedom. You stop worrying about what others think of you, and you start focusing on becoming the best version of yourself, on your own terms. How to apply Stoic principles. When criticism hurts. There will be times when criticism feels especially harsh, and no matter how rational you try to be, it still stings. In those moments, remind yourself of the Stoic principle of detachment. You are not your mistakes. You are not the opinion of others. Your worth comes from within, from how you choose to live your life and align with your values. If you're struggling to shake off a particularly tough piece of criticism, practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that no one is perfect and that growth is a process. The Stoics teach us that failure and criticism are part of life's natural cycle. What matters is how you respond, whether you let it define you or whether you use it to become stronger and wiser. Conclusion: criticism is a teacher, not an enemy. At the end of the day, criticism is a teacher, not an enemy. It's there to help you grow, refine your actions, and become a better version of yourself. The Stoics understood that while you can't control what others say or think about you, you can control how you choose to react. So the next time you're faced with criticism, take a deep breath and remind yourself, this is an opportunity, not a personal attack. If the feedback is valid, use it as fuel for growth. If it's not, let it go and keep moving forward with confidence. By handling criticism with grace and resilience, you take control of your own growth and prevent external opinions from affecting your inner peace. 5. Transforming offense, changing how you perceive offenses. Taking offense is something we all experience, whether someone makes a rude comment, ignores us, or behaves in a way that feels disrespectful. But here's where Stoic wisdom kicks in. Offense is a choice. Yes, you heard that right. When someone offends us, it's not their action or words that cause the emotional sting. It's our perception of it. Epictetus and the Stoics taught that we have the power to change how we perceive offenses and turn them into opportunities for building resilience and empathy. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." This doesn't mean that we should let others walk all over us, but it does mean that we are in control of whether or not we allow someone else's behavior to disrupt our peace of mind. Why do we get offended? Think about the last time you felt offended. Maybe someone made a snide comment about something personal, or perhaps they dismissed your opinion in a group discussion. In that moment, you probably felt hurt, disrespected, or even angry. But what's interesting is that offense doesn't come from the act itself. It comes from the meaning we assign to it. The Stoics believed that when we get offended, it's because we've attached meaning to someone's words or actions that affects our ego. We interpret their behavior as an attack on our identity, our values, or our self-worth. But here's the catch. We control that interpretation. When we change how we perceive offenses, we take back the power to control our emotional response. The Stoic perspective. Offense is optional. In the Stoic view, offense is not inevitable. It's something we can choose to accept or reject. When someone insults you, the insult only has power if you give it power. If you choose not to take it personally, if you see it for what it is, a reflection of their opinion, not a reflection of your worth, then the insult loses its sting. Here's how Epictetus might explain it. Imagine someone calls you foolish. You could immediately feel upset, thinking, "How dare they say that about me?" But what if you paused and asked yourself, "Is this true? Am I actually foolish?" If the answer is no, then why let it bother you? Their words don't change who you are. If the answer is yes, then they've simply pointed out something you need to work on. No offense necessary. This shift in mindset is incredibly freeing. It means that no matter what others say or do, you get to decide how you interpret it and how much power you give it. How to transform offense into an opportunity. So, how do you actually transform offense into something positive? Here are some practical steps based on Stoic philosophy. 1. Pause before reacting. The moment you feel offended, practice pausing. Take a deep breath and give yourself a moment to reflect before responding. This short pause gives you the space to choose your reaction rather than letting emotions take over. 2. Ask yourself, is this about me or them? Often when people say hurtful things, it has more to do with them than with you. Maybe they're projecting their own insecurities, or they're having a bad day. By asking yourself whether the offense is about you or them, you can create some emotional distance and avoid taking things personally. 3. Reframe the situation. Instead of viewing the offense as an attack, try reframing it as an opportunity for growth. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? For example, if someone criticizes your work, instead of feeling offended, view it as constructive feedback that can help you improve. Practice empathy. When someone offends you, take a moment to consider their perspective. Are they acting out of frustration, insecurity, or misunderstanding? By practicing empathy, you can shift your focus from feeling hurt to understanding the other person's experience, which reduces the emotional charge of the situation. Real-life example: the workplace. Imagine a scenario where you've been working hard on a project, and during a meeting, a colleague criticizes your approach in front of others. You feel embarrassed and maybe even a bit defensive. But instead of taking offense and letting it ruin your day, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this criticism about me, or is it a reflection of their perspective? You can choose to not take it personally. Maybe your colleague's feedback, even though poorly delivered, has some value. Or maybe it's just their opinion, and it doesn't reflect your actual performance. Either way, by choosing not to be offended, you maintain your composure and avoid turning the situation into unnecessary drama. Conclusion: offense is a choice. At the end of the day, offense is a choice that you have the power to make. The Stoics teach us that we don't have to take offense at every little comment, critique, or insult that comes our way. Instead, we can choose how we perceive those moments and whether we allow them to affect our peace of mind. The next time you feel offended, remember, it's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that matters. By changing how you perceive offenses, you not only protect your emotional well-being, but you also open the door to personal growth, resilience, and greater empathy for others. So, the next time someone says something that stings, take a moment to pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with your values. You'll find that offense loses its power over you, and you gain a sense of emotional freedom that allows you to move through life with more peace and confidence. 6. Overcoming fear and shame. Face fear head-on and confront shame with self-compassion. Fear and shame are two of the most powerful emotions that can hold us back in life. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of judgment, or shame about something we've done, these emotions can create an invisible barrier that stops us from reaching our full potential. But here's where Stoicism comes in. Fear and shame are natural emotions, but they don't have to control you. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, believed that by confronting these emotions head-on with rational analysis and self-compassion, we can break free from their grip. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." In other words, fear and shame often arise not from reality, but from the way we perceive situations. By learning to see through these emotions and understanding their true nature, you can develop the resilience to face them and move forward with confidence. Understanding the roots of fear. Fear is a survival mechanism. It's our body's way of telling us that something might be dangerous or threatening. But here's the problem. In modern life, fear often arises in situations where there is no real physical threat. Instead, we experience fear when we're worried about failing, being judged, or stepping out of our comfort zone. For example, think about a time when you hesitated to take a big step, maybe applying for a job, speaking in front of a crowd, or pursuing a personal goal. The fear wasn't about a life or death situation. It was about the fear of failure or judgment. And that's where Stoic wisdom can help. The Stoics believed that rational analysis is the key to overcoming fear. By breaking down the situation and looking at it objectively, you can see that most of the fear is exaggerated and irrational. How to overcome fear using Stoic principles. 1. Rationally analyze the fear. When you feel fear creeping in, the first step is to confront it directly. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is this fear based on reality, or is it something I've built up in my mind? By dissecting the fear, you'll often find that it's not as big or as threatening as you thought. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, break it down. What's the worst that could happen? Maybe you stumble over a few words or get nervous, but will that truly harm you in the long run? Probably not. 2. Use premeditation. One powerful Stoic technique is called premeditatio malorum, which means the premeditation of evils. It involves visualizing the worst-case scenario in a situation. By imagining what could go wrong, you mentally prepare yourself and take the power out of the fear. This way, if the worst does happen, it won't be a shock. You've already thought it through, and you know you can handle it. 3. Focus on what you can control. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the things within our control and let go of what we can't control. When it comes to fear, you can't always control the outcome of a situation, but you can control how you approach it. Instead of worrying about whether you'll succeed or fail, focus on giving your best effort, staying calm, and taking one step at a time. 4. Reframe fear as opportunity. Another way to overcome fear is to change how you see it. Instead of viewing fear as something negative, see it as an opportunity for growth. When you feel fear, it's usually because you're about to step into something new or challenging, and that's where growth happens. The more you face your fears, the more resilient and confident you become. The nature of shame and how to confront it. While fear often comes from anticipating future events, shame is rooted in the past. Shame is that deep feeling of embarrassment or guilt over something you've done, said, or experienced. It can be crippling because it makes you feel unworthy, like you're not good enough or you don't belong. But here's the thing about shame. It thrives in silence and secrecy. The Stoics would remind us that everyone makes mistakes. And shame is a natural emotion that we all experience. The key is to confront it with self-compassion and honesty, rather than letting it fester. How to overcome shame. 1. Acknowledge your humanity. The Stoics believed that to be human is to be flawed. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that every person he encountered, including himself, was imperfect. This simple truth is powerful when it comes to shame. When you feel ashamed of something, remind yourself that you are human, and part of being human is making mistakes. You're not defined by your worst moments. 2. Practice self-compassion. Shame often arises because we're too hard on ourselves. We hold ourselves to unrealistic standards, and when we fall short, we feel unworthy. But the Stoics teach us that self-compassion is essential. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend who's struggling. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can I grow? Instead of letting shame consume you, use it as a tool for self-reflection and improvement. 3. Share your shame. One of the most effective ways to overcome shame is to share it with someone you trust. Shame thrives in secrecy, but when you talk about it openly, its power diminishes. Whether it's with a close friend, a mentor, or a therapist, sharing your shame helps you see that you're not alone and that your mistakes don't define you. Focus on your values. When you feel shame, it's easy to get caught up in the emotions and forget what truly matters. The Stoics teach us to focus on our core values, the principles that guide our lives. When you're grounded in your values, shame becomes less about what you've done and more about how you can align your actions with your principles moving forward. Real-life example: overcoming fear and shame. Let's say you've been avoiding applying for a promotion at work because you're afraid you're not qualified enough or that you'll be rejected. The fear of failure is holding you back, and over time it's been eating away at your confidence. But by applying Stoic principles, you can begin to break through that fear. First, you analyze the fear. What's the worst that could happen if you apply and don't get the promotion? Maybe you don't get the role, but would it be the end of the world? You'd learn from the experience, and you'd be better prepared for the next opportunity. Next, you focus on what's within your control: your effort, preparation, and attitude. You can't control whether you get the promotion, but you can control how you approach the process. By reframing the situation as a growth opportunity, you take the fear out of the equation. Now, let's look at shame. Imagine you made a mistake in the past that you're still carrying with you, something you regret deeply, and you feel ashamed of it. It's been holding you back from pursuing new opportunities because you don't feel worthy. But the Stoics would remind you that shame doesn't define you. By acknowledging that you're human, practicing self-compassion, and sharing your experience with someone you trust, you begin to release the grip that shame has over you. Instead of letting it control your life, you can focus on how you've grown and how you're living according to your values now. The power of facing fear and shame. When you confront your fears and shame head-on, you unlock a new level of freedom. Fear no longer controls your actions, and shame no longer defines your self-worth. The Stoics believed that by facing these emotions with rational analysis and self-compassion, you become stronger, more resilient, and more capable of handling life's challenges. Overcoming fear and shame doesn't mean you'll never feel them again. But when they arise, you'll be equipped with the tools to face them calmly and with confidence. You'll no longer be held back by irrational fears or past mistakes. Instead, you'll move forward with a sense of empowerment and purpose. Conclusion: fear and shame are not the enemy. Fear and shame are part of being human, but they don't have to control you. The Stoics teach us that by confronting these emotions head-on with logic and self-compassion, we can transform them into opportunities for growth. Fear becomes a chance to build courage, and shame becomes a lesson in self-acceptance. So the next time you feel afraid to take a step forward or weighed down by shame from the past, pause and remind yourself, these emotions don't define me. I can face them, learn from them, and keep moving forward. This is where true inner strength comes from. 7. Anticipating obstacles. Use premeditatio malorum to mentally prepare for challenges. Life is full of unexpected twists and turns. We've all faced moments where things didn't go as planned, whether it's a sudden setback at work, a disagreement with a loved one, or even something as simple as missing an important deadline. These obstacles can throw us off balance, leaving us frustrated, stressed, or even anxious. But what if you could prepare for these challenges in advance so that when they happen, you're not caught off guard? That's where the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum comes in. This phrase translates to the premeditation of evils, and it's a powerful tool for mentally preparing for life's challenges. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, believed that by anticipating obstacles before they happen, we can build emotional resilience and stay calm, even in the face of adversity. Why premeditatio malorum is so powerful. At first glance, the idea of visualizing potential problems might seem counterintuitive. Why would you want to spend time thinking about things that could go wrong? But here's the thing. Life's challenges are inevitable. No matter how well you plan, unexpected obstacles will always arise. By practicing premeditatio malorum, you prepare your mind to handle these challenges with grace and composure. It's not about being pessimistic, it's about being realistic and proactive. Think of it like training for a marathon. You wouldn't wait until race day to start preparing. You'd anticipate the physical and mental challenges you'll face during the race, and you'd train your body and mind accordingly. In the same way, premeditatio malorum helps you mentally prepare for the marathon of life, so that when obstacles come your way, you're ready to face them without being derailed. How to practice premeditatio malorum. The practice of premeditatio malorum is simple but incredibly effective. It involves visualizing potential challenges before they happen and thinking through how you'll respond to them. Here's how you can start incorporating this Stoic exercise into your daily life. 1. Identify potential obstacles. Start by reflecting on your day or week ahead. What challenges might you encounter? Think about work deadlines, personal relationships, or any other situations where things might not go as planned. By identifying these potential obstacles in advance, you prepare your mind to face them. 2. Visualize the worst-case scenario. Once you've identified potential obstacles, take a moment to visualize the worst-case scenario. For example, if you're preparing for a big presentation, imagine that your technology fails or that the audience doesn't respond well. This might sound stressful at first, but by mentally preparing for these possibilities, you take the fear out of the unknown. 3. Plan your response. After visualizing the worst-case scenario, think through how you'll respond if it happens. Instead of reacting with frustration or panic, how can you stay calm and focused? For example, if your presentation does go wrong, you might calmly switch to a backup plan or deliver your points without the slides. By thinking through your response in advance, you're less likely to be thrown off when challenges arise. 4. Reframe the obstacle. The Stoics believed that obstacles aren't inherently negative. They're opportunities for growth. Once you've visualized the obstacle, ask yourself, how can this challenge make me stronger? This shift in mindset helps you see obstacles as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. For example, a failed presentation might teach you to be more adaptable or help you improve your communication skills for the future. Real-life example: handling setbacks at work. Let's look at a practical example. Imagine you're working on an important project at work, and there's a looming deadline. You're stressed about the possibility of things going wrong. Maybe a key team member won't deliver their part on time, or the client might ask for last-minute changes. Instead of letting this stress consume you, you can use premeditatio malorum to prepare mentally. First, identify the potential obstacles. Maybe your team misses the deadline, or the client's feedback is more critical than expected. Next, visualize the worst-case scenario. What would happen if these things went wrong? Maybe you'd have to work overtime, deal with difficult feedback, or come up with a quick solution. Then, plan your response. How will you handle the situation calmly and constructively? By thinking through these steps in advance, you're mentally prepared to face the challenges with confidence. In another example, say you're about to have a difficult conversation with a friend or family member. You're worried the conversation might turn into an argument, or that your words will be misunderstood. By using premeditatio malorum, you can anticipate these challenges. Visualize the conversation going poorly. Maybe the other person reacts emotionally, or there's a misunderstanding. Then, think about how you'll respond with patience, empathy, and clarity. This preparation helps you stay grounded and avoid getting caught up in emotional reactions. Why anticipating obstacles builds resilience. The Stoics understood that life's challenges aren't just unavoidable, they're essential for building resilience. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how obstacles can actually benefit us. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the obstacles we face are not barriers to our progress, they are part of the path itself. By anticipating obstacles, you build resilience because you learn to expect and embrace challenges rather than fear them. When you know that setbacks are part of life, you stop being surprised or overwhelmed by them. Instead, you develop a mindset that welcomes challenges as opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. For example, think about athletes who train for a competition. They don't just prepare for the best-case scenario, they also prepare for the worst. They know that unexpected injuries, tough competitors, or bad weather could arise on race day. By anticipating these challenges, they're mentally and physically prepared to adapt and perform at their best, no matter what happens. The power of mental preparation. The beauty of premeditatio malorum is that it shifts your focus from worrying about the future to preparing for it. Instead of being reactive, you become proactive. You train your mind to stay calm, focused, and adaptable, no matter what life throws your way. This mental preparation doesn't just help in the big moments, it helps in everyday life too. Whether it's dealing with a frustrating commute, managing a difficult coworker, or handling an unexpected expense, you're better equipped to face these challenges with composure and confidence. Conclusion: prepare for the worst, embrace the best. The Stoics remind us that obstacles are inevitable, but they don't have to knock us off course. By practicing premeditatio malorum, you develop the mental resilience to face challenges head-on, without fear or anxiety. You prepare your mind for the worst while embracing the opportunity for growth that each obstacle presents. So, as you go through your day, take a moment to reflect. What challenges might I face today, and how can I prepare myself to respond with calm and strength? By anticipating obstacles in advance, you build the inner resilience to handle whatever comes your way. Remember, it's not about being pessimistic, it's about being realistic and ready. And when you're ready, nothing can shake you. 8. Inner strength. Build inner strength by focusing on what you can control. Inner strength is one of the core principles of Stoic philosophy, and it's something we all strive for. In a world filled with uncertainty, challenges, and constant change, having a strong inner foundation is what allows us to remain calm, grounded, and resilient. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, believed that true strength comes from within, specifically from focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. Epictetus famously said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." This simple idea is incredibly powerful. It's easy to get caught up in things we have no control over, whether it's other people's behavior, unexpected events, or even global issues. But when we focus on our own thoughts, actions, and responses, we cultivate a sense of inner strength that can't be shaken by external circumstances. Why inner strength is crucial. Inner strength isn't just about being tough or resilient in difficult situations. It's about developing the mental and emotional fortitude to stay centered, no matter what's happening around you. When you have inner strength, you're less likely to be overwhelmed by stress, anxiety, or frustration. Instead, you approach challenges with calm and clarity, knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. But here's the thing. Inner strength doesn't just happen. It's something you have to build, just like a muscle. And the key to building it lies in focusing your energy on the things that are within your control. What's within your control? The Stoics believed that there are two categories of things in life: those that are within our control and those that are outside of it. Understanding this distinction is the foundation of inner strength. Here's a simple breakdown. Things within your control: your thoughts, your actions, your reactions, your effort, your mindset. Things outside your control: other people's opinions, external events, the past, the future, nature, politics, etc. When you focus on what's within your control, you empower yourself. You stop wasting energy on things you can't change, and instead, you direct that energy toward improving yourself and making the best of every situation. For example, imagine you're dealing with a difficult coworker. You can't control their behavior or attitude, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to remain calm, professional, and solution-focused, rather than letting their negativity affect your mood or productivity. This is where inner strength comes into play. It's about taking ownership of your reactions and refusing to be swayed by external forces. How to build inner strength through Stoic practices. Building inner strength is a daily practice. Here are some Stoic-inspired techniques that can help you strengthen your mind and emotions over time. 1. Daily reflection. The Stoics were big on reflection, particularly at the end of the day. Marcus Aurelius would often journal about his thoughts, actions, and experiences as a way to evaluate how well he lived according to his principles. You can do the same. Take a few minutes each evening to reflect on your day. Ask yourself, did I focus on what I could control? How did I handle challenges? Where can I improve tomorrow? This practice helps you stay aligned with your values and strengthens your resolve to keep growing. 2. Mental rehearsal. One way to build inner strength is through mental rehearsal. Before facing a potentially stressful situation, take a moment to mentally walk through it. Visualize the challenges you might encounter and how you'll respond with calm and focus. For example, if you have a tough meeting ahead, imagine yourself staying composed and handling the conversation with grace, even if things get tense. This mental preparation strengthens your ability to stay centered under pressure. 3. Acceptance of external events. The Stoics taught that much of life is outside of our control, and trying to change or fight against it only leads to frustration. By practicing acceptance, you learn to let go of the need to control everything. Instead of resisting reality, you focus on how to respond to it. If it rains on the day of your outdoor event, you can't control the weather, but you can control whether you let it ruin your mood. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity, it means directing your energy toward what you can influence. Practice forgiveness. Inner strength also comes from being able to forgive both others and yourself. Holding on to grudges or beating yourself up over past mistakes weakens your emotional resilience. The Stoics remind us that everyone is human and everyone makes mistakes. By practicing forgiveness, you free yourself from the emotional baggage that comes with resentment and guilt. This doesn't mean ignoring harmful behavior, but it does mean letting go of the emotional weight that holds you back. The power of letting go. One of the biggest obstacles to inner strength is the tendency to hold on to expectations, outcomes, and other people's opinions. But the Stoics understood that letting go is one of the most powerful ways to build inner strength. When you let go of things that are outside your control, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and disappointment. For example, you might be working hard toward a goal, but if you're attached to a specific outcome, any setback or delay can feel devastating. But if you focus on the process, on giving your best effort regardless of the outcome, you remain strong and steady, even if things don't go as planned. The same goes for other people's opinions. We all want to be liked and respected, but the truth is, you can't control how others see you. Trying to manage other people's perceptions will only lead to frustration. But when you let go of the need for approval, you tap into a deeper sense of inner strength, one that's rooted in self-respect and confidence. Real-life example, focusing on what's within your control. Let's say you're facing a situation where a project at work isn't going as planned. Maybe there are delays, miscommunications, or external factors that are completely out of your hands. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and stressed, especially when so much seems beyond your control. But here's where Stoic wisdom can make all the difference. Instead of focusing on the things that are going wrong, focus on what you can control: your attitude, your effort, and your actions. You can't control the delays, but you can control how you communicate with your team, how you manage your time, and how you adapt to the situation. This shift in focus empowers you to take constructive action rather than feeling helpless. Another example could be dealing with a personal challenge, like a health issue. While you can't always control the outcome of a health problem, you can control how you take care of yourself, whether it's by following medical advice, staying positive, or managing your stress. By focusing on what you can do rather than what you can't, you build the inner strength to face the challenge with courage and determination. The benefits of focusing on what you can control. When you focus on what's within your control, you experience several key benefits that enhance your inner strength and overall well-being. 1. Reduced stress. Much of our stress comes from trying to control things we can't. When you let go of that need for control, you free yourself from unnecessary worry and anxiety. 2. More emotional resilience. By focusing on what you can control, your reactions, your mindset, your effort, you build emotional resilience. You're able to stay calm and composed in difficult situations because you know that your inner world is within your power, even if the outer world isn't. 3. Greater sense of empowerment. When you focus on what's within your control, you feel more empowered. You realize that while you can't control every outcome, you can control how you respond, and that gives you a sense of agency and confidence. 4. Improved relationships. When you stop trying to control how others behave or think, you create healthier relationships. You let go of unrealistic expectations and focus on being the best version of yourself, which often leads to more harmonious interactions with others. Real life. Example: cultivating inner strength through adversity. Consider someone like Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison under brutal conditions. Despite the harshness of his environment, Mandela remained mentally and emotionally strong. How? By focusing on what he could control: his mindset, his dignity, and his commitment to justice. He couldn't control the political system or his imprisonment, but he could control how he responded to it. Mandela's ability to stay grounded in his values and focused on his purpose is a testament to the power of inner strength. Conclusion: inner strength comes from within. Building inner strength isn't about controlling the external world. It's about mastering your inner world. The Stoics remind us that true strength comes from focusing on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses to life's challenges. By letting go of the need to control everything around us, we tap into a deeper sense of resilience, calm, and empowerment. So, as you move through your day, ask yourself, am I focusing on what's within my control, or am I wasting energy on things I can't change? By staying focused on what you can influence, you'll build the inner strength to face whatever life throws your way with grace and confidence. 9. Restraint in actions. Practice self-control in heated situations. In life, it's easy to react impulsively when emotions are running high. Whether it's a heated argument, a moment of frustration, or feeling overwhelmed by stress, we've all been there, saying or doing something in the heat of the moment that we later regret. But one of the core teachings of Stoicism is the power of self-control, especially when things are intense. Epictetus and other Stoics believed that practicing restraint in actions allows you to navigate these emotional situations with wisdom, keeping your peace of mind intact. Epictetus said, "It is not the things themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about those things." What he meant was that the events or actions around us don't inherently cause distress. It's how we react to them. And when we learn to pause, exercise restraint, and choose our responses carefully, we gain control over our emotions and ultimately over the situation. Why self-control is so powerful. Self-control is a skill that can transform your life. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't feel them. Instead, it's about choosing how to respond to those emotions. When you react impulsively, especially in difficult situations, you're letting your emotions take charge. But when you pause and practice restraint, you take back control. You give yourself the chance to respond with reason rather than emotion. Think about it. How many times have you said something in anger that you later wished you could take back? Or made a decision out of frustration that didn't serve you in the long run? Practicing self-control helps you avoid those regrets. It gives you the power to stay calm and rational even when the situation is challenging. How to practice restraint in heated situations. Developing self-control takes practice, especially when emotions are running high. But the Stoics believed that anyone can cultivate this skill through consistent effort. Here are some ways you can practice restraint in your daily life. 1. Pause before reacting. One of the most effective ways to exercise restraint is to pause before responding. When you feel anger, frustration, or any intense emotion rising, take a moment to breathe. Count to 10 if needed. This simple pause gives you the time to reflect before you speak or act, helping you avoid impulsive reactions. 2. Ask yourself, what's in my control? When you're in the middle of a heated situation, it's easy to feel like everything is spinning out of control. But the Stoics remind us that while we can't control external events or other people's actions, we can control our own responses. Ask yourself, what part of this situation is within my control? By focusing on what you can influence, your attitude, your words, and your actions, you regain your sense of power. 3. Choose your battles. Not every situation requires a reaction. Sometimes the most powerful act of restraint is choosing to let something go. If someone makes a rude comment or behaves disrespectfully, ask yourself if it's worth responding. In many cases, walking away or staying silent is a stronger, more dignified response than engaging in a heated argument. This doesn't mean you ignore important issues, but it means you save your energy for battles that truly matter. 4. Reframe the situation. In Stoicism, reframing is a powerful tool for practicing self-control. When you feel upset or angry, try to reframe the situation. Ask yourself, is this as bad as it seems? Often, when we step back and view the situation from a different perspective, we realize that it's not worth the emotional energy we're giving it. By reframing the problem, you can choose a calmer, more measured response. Real-life example: practicing restraint in relationships. Let's consider a common scenario. You're having a disagreement with a friend or partner, and emotions start to escalate. They say something that hurts your feelings, and your first instinct is to snap back with something equally hurtful. But here's where Stoic wisdom comes in. Instead of reacting impulsively, pause. Take a deep breath and give yourself a moment to process the situation. Ask yourself, is this really worth escalating? Will saying something hurtful help the situation, or will it make things worse? By exercising restraint, you create space for a more thoughtful response. You might choose to address the issue calmly, saying something like, "I feel hurt by what you said, and I'd like to talk about it." Or you might decide that the comment isn't worth a response at all. Either way, you've maintained your self-control, avoided unnecessary conflict, and kept the conversation respectful. The importance of temperance. In Stoic philosophy, temperance, or moderation, is one of the 4 cardinal virtues. It's all about practicing balance and restraint in all areas of life. Whether it's in your emotions, your desires, or your actions, temperance is the key to living with wisdom and self-mastery. In modern life, we're often encouraged to act on impulse, to indulge our desires, express our emotions without filters, and react in the moment. But the Stoics believed that true strength lies in restraint. It's about having the discipline to hold back, reflect, and make decisions that align with your values, rather than being swayed by temporary emotions. For example, if you're feeling frustrated with a situation at work, temperance reminds you to hold back from venting your frustrations to your boss or co-workers in the heat of the moment. Instead, it encourages you to step back, assess the situation rationally, and choose a response that is both professional and aligned with your long-term goals. The power of self-control in everyday life. Practicing self-control isn't just useful in moments of conflict. It's a skill that can improve every area of your life, from your personal relationships to your professional success. When you learn to control your impulses, you make better decisions, maintain stronger relationships, and build a deeper sense of inner peace. For example, self-control is essential when it comes to managing stress. When you feel overwhelmed by your workload or personal responsibilities, it's easy to react with frustration or anxiety. But by practicing restraint, you can step back, prioritize your tasks, and approach the situation with a clear mind. Another example is in managing your desires and habits. Whether it's resisting the urge to procrastinate, indulging in unhealthy habits, or overspending, self-control helps you stay disciplined and focused on what truly matters. It allows you to make choices that align with your long-term well-being, rather than giving in to short-term impulses. Real life. Example: exercising self-control in stressful situations. Imagine you're in a stressful situation at work. Maybe there's a tight deadline and everything seems to be going wrong. Your team is falling behind, your boss is frustrated, and you're feeling the pressure. In a moment like this, it's easy to react impulsively, snapping at co-workers or rushing through tasks just to get them done. But practicing Stoic self-control means pausing, even in the midst of stress. Instead of reacting emotionally, you take a deep breath and ask yourself, what's the most effective way to handle this? By staying calm, you can think more clearly, prioritize your tasks, and communicate with your team in a way that fosters collaboration rather than conflict. In another scenario, think about the temptation to procrastinate on a big project. It's easy to give in to the desire for short-term comfort, scrolling through social media, watching TV, or doing anything but the work you need to do. But by practicing self-control, you can resist the temptation and stay focused on your goals. You remind yourself that the reward of completing the project is far greater than the momentary pleasure of procrastinating. The long-term benefits of practicing restraint. When you practice restraint in your actions, you cultivate a sense of inner strength and emotional resilience. You become less reactive to the world around you and more in control of your own thoughts and behavior. Over time, this leads to several key benefits. 1. Improved decision-making. By pausing before reacting, you give yourself the space to make thoughtful decisions rather than acting on impulse. This leads to better outcomes in both your personal and professional life. 2. Stronger relationships. When you practice restraint in your relationships, you avoid unnecessary conflicts and build deeper connections based on respect and understanding. You're less likely to say things you regret and more likely to approach disagreements with empathy and patience. 3. Increased emotional resilience. Self-control helps you build emotional resilience by training your mind to stay calm in difficult situations. Instead of being overwhelmed by emotions, you learn to manage them and respond in a way that aligns with your values. Greater focus and discipline. Restraint isn't just about controlling your reactions. It's also about staying focused on your goals and resisting distractions. When you practice self-control in your daily habits, you build the discipline needed to achieve long-term success. Conclusion: restraint is a superpower. In a world where it's easy to act on impulse and react emotionally, restraint is a superpower. The Stoics teach us that true strength lies in the ability to pause, reflect, and choose our actions wisely. By practicing self-control, you take back the power over your emotions, your reactions, and your life. So, the next time you find yourself in a heated situation, remind yourself, I am in control of how I respond. By choosing restraint, you not only protect your peace of mind, but also make decisions that lead to better outcomes and stronger relationships. Remember, practicing self-control isn't about suppressing your emotions, it's about mastering them. And when you master your emotions, you master your life. 10. Living according to nature. Align yourself with the natural flow of life. One of the central teachings of Stoicism is the idea of living according to nature. But what does that really mean? To the Stoics, living according to nature is about aligning yourself with the natural order of the world, cultivating virtues like wisdom, courage, and justice, and accepting the flow of life without resistance. It's about understanding that we are part of a larger whole, nature, the universe, and society, and living in harmony with it. Epictetus emphasized this idea when he said, "Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well." In other words, living according to nature means accepting life as it unfolds and finding peace within it, instead of fighting against things that are beyond your control. What does it mean to live according to nature? At its core, living according to nature means understanding the fundamental truths of life, that change is constant, that we are all interconnected, and that many things are outside of our control. It means embracing these realities with wisdom and grace. To live according to nature is to recognize that everything is temporary, from our possessions to our relationships to our very lives. Rather than resisting this truth, the Stoics encourage us to accept it and focus on what truly matters: how we live, how we treat others, and how we align our actions with our values. Living according to nature is also about cultivating virtues. Specifically, the four cardinal virtues of Stoicism: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These virtues help guide our actions and decisions, allowing us to live in a way that is true to our nature as rational, social beings. The natural flow of life. One of the biggest challenges we face is accepting that life doesn't always go the way we want it to. We make plans, set goals, and have expectations, but sometimes things don't work out. This can lead to frustration, disappointment, and even despair if we're not careful. But the Stoics remind us that life has its own flow, one that we can't always control. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the idea that the universe has its own order, and our role is to align ourselves with it rather than resist it. This doesn't mean giving up on our goals or being passive, but rather accepting that there are forces beyond our control and finding peace in how we respond to them. Imagine a river. You can try to swim against the current, but you'll exhaust yourself. Or you can learn to go with the flow, navigating the currents as they come and conserving your energy for when it truly matters. This is the Stoic approach to life. Instead of resisting change or clinging to expectations, we flow with life, adapting to circumstances with wisdom and grace. How to live according to nature in everyday life. Living according to nature isn't just a lofty philosophical idea, it's something you can practice every day. Here are some practical ways to align yourself with the natural flow of life. 1. Accept impermanence. Everything in life is temporary. Our successes, our failures, even our relationships. Instead of fearing this truth, embrace it. When you accept that nothing lasts forever, you free yourself from the need to cling to outcomes or resist change. This acceptance helps you stay grounded and at peace, no matter what life throws your way. 2. Embrace change. Change is a fundamental part of nature. Seasons change, people change, circumstances change. The Stoics believe that resisting change only leads to suffering. Instead, embrace change as a natural part of life. When things don't go as planned, remind yourself that change is the way of the world and adapt accordingly. 3. Cultivate virtues. Living according to nature means living with virtue. Focus on developing the four cardinal virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in your daily life. Make decisions that are guided by wisdom. Act with courage in the face of adversity. Treat others with fairness and justice, and practice moderation in all things. These virtues help you live in harmony with the natural order of life. 4. Let go of control. One of the biggest obstacles to living according to nature is the desire to control everything around us. But the Stoics teach that control is an illusion. You can't control other people, the weather, or the future. What you can control is how you respond to these things. By letting go of the need to control everything, you find a sense of peace and freedom that allows you to flow with life rather than fight against it. Real-life example: accepting life's natural flow. Let's consider a real-life example of how living according to nature can transform your experience. Imagine you've worked hard for a promotion at work. You've put in the hours, delivered great results, and feel like you're the perfect candidate. But when promotion time comes, someone else gets the job. You feel disappointed, frustrated, and maybe even resentful. In this situation, the Stoic approach would be to accept that life doesn't always go as planned. Instead of dwelling on the frustration of not getting the promotion, you could focus on what you can control: your attitude, your effort, and how you move forward. Maybe this setback is an opportunity to grow in other ways, to improve your skills, or to seek new challenges. By accepting the flow of life, you avoid unnecessary suffering. You understand that this event, while disappointing, is just part of the larger picture. Life will continue to flow, and there will be other opportunities down the road. Instead of letting this setback define you, you move forward with wisdom and resilience. Another example could be in personal relationships. Sometimes people leave our lives through conflict, distance, or even death. While it's natural to feel sadness or grief, the Stoics teach us to accept these changes as part of life's natural flow. By acknowledging the impermanence of relationships, you can appreciate the time you had with those people without becoming consumed by the loss. The power of living with virtue. At the heart of living according to nature is the cultivation of virtue. The Stoics believed that living a virtuous life was the highest good, and that everything else, wealth, status, pleasure, was secondary. By focusing on virtues like wisdom, courage, and justice, you align yourself with the natural order of the universe and live a life of purpose and fulfillment. For example, in moments of difficulty, ask yourself, what's the virtuous response here? Maybe it's showing courage in the face of fear, or practicing patience when things aren't going your way. By focusing on your virtues, you ensure that your actions are in harmony with your values and with the natural flow of life. Living with virtue also helps you stay centered and grounded when life becomes unpredictable. No matter what external circumstances you face, you can always control how you act. This is the essence of Stoic strength, knowing that your character and your choices are always within your control. Real-life example: letting go of expectations. Consider a scenario where you've planned a big event, maybe a wedding, a business launch, or a special trip. You've spent months preparing, organizing, and building up expectations for how perfect it will be. But then something unexpected happens: a weather issue, a scheduling conflict, or a global event, and all your plans fall apart. In a moment like this, it's easy to feel devastated. But living according to nature means letting go of rigid expectations and embracing what life brings. The Stoics would encourage you to adapt to the situation, focus on what's within your control, and find peace in accepting that life doesn't always follow your plans. Maybe the event doesn't go perfectly, but by going with the flow, you can still enjoy the experience and make the best of the situation. Conclusion: living in harmony with life. Living according to nature isn't about being passive or giving up on your goals. It's about understanding that life has its own flow, and the more we align ourselves with it, the more peace and fulfillment we find. By embracing change, accepting what's outside of our control, and cultivating virtues in our daily lives, we can live in harmony with the natural order of the world. The next time you face a challenge or a setback, ask yourself, how can I flow with this rather than fight against it? By living according to nature, you'll find that life becomes less of a struggle and more of a journey, one that you can navigate with wisdom, courage, and grace. Remember, the Stoics teach us that while we can't control everything that happens in life, we can control how we respond. And that's where true strength and freedom lie. And there you have it, 10 Stoic principles to help you navigate life with strength, wisdom, and calm. We've talked about everything from emotional control and building inner strength to learning how to live in harmony with the natural flow of life. These ideas aren't just ancient philosophy, they're practical steps you can take every day to become more resilient and steady, no matter what comes your way. Remember, life will always throw challenges at us, but the way we choose to react is always in our hands. That's the core of Stoicism, focusing on what's within your control and letting go of everything else. If you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable, make sure to hit that like button and share it with someone who could use a little Stoic wisdom in their life. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. It helps the channel grow and ensures you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in today, and as always, keep practicing these principles. Stay strong, and I'll catch you in the next one.